Okay, my first question to you is, how did your career begin? Where did it all begin for you?
um, I laugh because I have had a number of careers. I first started in the theater, just something I wanted to do since college.
Mm-hmm.
Actually since high school, and then studied it in college. But it's very hard to find work there, and I ended up as a teacher. And so I did that for a number of years. And I worked in a museum, and I worked at a zoo in the education department. And then I taught college. And then when I left the teaching at the university, I started doing the oral histories that I do now. So that started maybe about 10 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's great what you do, the oral histories of everything. That's incredible. It keeps legacies alive. Yeah.
That's the hope. That's what you do as well.
I try. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we can do. We try.
Definitely. What do you find is the most challenging part or the most difficult part for you in that career?
Two things jump to my mind. You mean in terms of the oral history?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of them is the editing. I've been editing all morning a project, and that's a lot of work. It's really like putting a jigsaw puzzle together, and you discover you have missing pieces, so then you have to go search for who else do I need to talk to, and what do I need to add to this. I find it really taxing, but at the same time, when it starts to work, it's really great. It's like when you see the puzzle come together. So that's one. I think that's the most difficult thing is the just the editing of it. Another thing comes to mind, which is I've never known when to stop. My book before this one is like 700 pages long, and it could have been much longer. I mean, I cut a lot of material out with my editor's, suggestions, but I just kept going. I interviewed over 300 people for that book. And I know I could have done more. So you just have to stop at some point. And so that's very challenging for me because I get so excited about it. I get so interested in it.
Definitely. It's hard to stop when you're having so much fun.
That's a great way to put it, Trey. Exactly.
Definitely. And what is the name of the book you're working on now?
Well, it has a tentative title. It's Edward Asner, Artist and Activist, A Composite History.
Definitely.
Actually, it's a composite profile. That's what I'm calling it. A composite profile put together from all these different people who know him.
Definitely, and I know we collaborated on it because I've interviewed Ed a few times, and you interviewed me about my experience with Ed, and it was fun to talk about that, definitely.
And I was so pleased to have you do that. It's, you're a fine example of what I try to do, which is multiple perspectives, It's not just the, Gavin MacLeod and Elliot Gould and all the people that, you might expect to be there. It's a profile is put together from every perspective, and you had a unique take on him. So I was very pleased to get that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you were able to do that and make me a part of it. That's great, and I was very honored to do it. And I talked to Ed a few times after the first interview. I've interviewed him again because he did his memoir as, Son of a Junk Man. And we talked about that, and it was great. Yeah,
he's a very generous guy, isn't he? Very warm.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. My next question is: do you have any upcoming projects besides this book? Are you working on anything else as of right now?
Yeah, I'm beginning to work on a book. Studs Terkel, who's the great oral historian, did a book in the early 70s called Working, and they interviewed something like 130 people in the workforce, all across the spectrum, really wealthy, very poor, in the middle. And it became kind of a classic book, and it's having a 50th anniversary soon. So I'm trying to put together a 21st century version of Working, and especially because of all that's going on now and how the workforce is so dramatically changing. So that's the other big thing I'm working on. And then just lots of little stuff, too. There's always little stuff as well.
Definitely. There's always little things we always work on. I always tell people I'm always busy doing something. If it's writing, acting, interviewing, I'm doing something. Doesn't that make it great, though? Make life great. I mean, I just can't not be doing something like that. Definitely. I have to work. It's the will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Definitely. Who are some of the people you've interviewed? I've interviewed a few people, but you've interviewed some great people too. You mentioned Gavin MacLeod and Elliot Gould, and who are a few of the others you've interviewed?
Well, there's lots. We overlap. We both talked to Marion Ross. Mm-hmm. For Ed's book, I've talked to Julia Louis-Dreyfus for the other book, Alan Arkin. Gosh, there's just so many, I can't think of them now. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on them. See, here's my book. Is that funny? Ed, of course, I've talked to him a number of times. David Schwimmer, Jim Belushi, Laurie Metcalf, John Mahoney, Michael Shannon, lots of people.
Definitely. I interview a lot of people too, and my thing is I hate to use the word celebrities, but I don't interview just celebrities, it's people from all walks of life in the industry. And I'm very privileged to do that, and I'm very focused on it's multifaceted,
That's what I find very interesting too. It's not just the obvious people,
Yeah.
It's when somebody asks me a question like you just did, they usually want to hear who are the celebrities, because those are the names they know. But there are people like Joe Drummond, who was a stage manager for 40 years. That's really interesting to me too. Sound guys like Rob Milner. But if I toss those names out, you're not going to know who they are. But they're just as important as you know.
Definitely. Yeah, I tell people all the time, they say, well, who have you interviewed? Any actors I know? And I name a few older character actors I've interviewed, Jack Donner, Jack Axelrod, Michael Flynn, and they're like, who? Yeah, they expect the celebrity.
Right. They're looking, then you have to identify who they are and what they might have seen them in. But it becomes sort of a shortcut to name celebrities. See what I mean? Because then they immediately know who it is.
Definitely. My next question to you is, what is your advice to people who want to be a historian or who want to get into this career like you, who have that interest?
I was just talking to somebody who was trying to do some of this and asked me a question very much like that. And I think the thing is the way I did it was I just started. You've got to start somewhere. Don't sit around and ponder it to death. Go out and find somebody to interview. There's nothing but tons of people out there. It's complicated because of the pandemic, but Zoom is a great way to do it. The phone is a great way to do it. Start getting some interviews under your belt. But the thing is to start, and then then you can feel it start to take a form. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That would be, if somebody's trying to get started, just do it.
Definitely.
What could be? It's not like you have to do a job interview or or audition, right? It's not reliant on somebody else. It's your own initiative. So go ahead.
Definitely.
And you'll find too. I think you've probably found this too. People really want to talk. They really do.
Definitely, I've had people
They're not reluctant.
approach me. You know, I have some people I've never heard of, and they heard of my name and approach me. Can you interview me? And I'm like, sure. Let me do some research, and we can do it. You know.
That's great. Yeah,
Definitely.
that. You know, it's. What was I going to say about that? It's just that they just really want to do it and to talk to you and to tell you about their lives.
Definitely.
I don't know if you had the same experience. But I was surprised at first at how people would just say yes to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially early on. I was thinking about all the people that I wanted to talk to, and I thought, well, how will I even get to them, or how will I? Will they think of how often they're interviewed, and so I didn't think it would go anywhere. But boy, they're just ready to go, as you found too.
Definitely, I'm surprised when I first started out. When I started out, I was 13. I'm 20 now. And to add on to that little young age gap, I'm high functioning autistic. And so that's kind of a unique story. But
it is.
I would tell people, would you like to do an interview? And people would just jump, yes, absolutely. And I was surprised, like, wait, wow, this is easy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's so funny you said that. That's exactly my experience. Because you must get people who ask you, how did you get them? Why did they say, why did they do this for you? And I don't know why they did, but they sure do. I got very few people who said no.
Same here.
I got some, like John Malkovich, just didn't even respond, So that certainly took that as a no. But very few people said no.
Same here. Or if they do say no, they, for me, if they decline an interview, I always ask if it's an actor, could I just have an autographed picture? I have a collection, and it's just a keepsake I like to have. But no, all of them pretty much say yes, and if not, we try to work something out in the future if they say no at that time. And
yeah.
It's great. It's a wonderful industry to be in. It's not for everybody, I find, but
no, it probably isn't.
But I'm blessed to be in it, and I'm blessed to work.
Absolutely. It's great fun, isn't it? You sound like you enjoy it.
Oh, definitely. Well, Mark, thank you for letting me talk to you. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad we were finally able to do this.
I am too, and I'm so fascinated by the work that you do. So I'm honored to have been asked to do this.
Thank you, and I'll send you a link to the interview once it's published so you can listen to it.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing that.
Okay.
Good luck with all your work, Trey.
Thank you.
I'm impressed.
You too.
Okay. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was historian and writer Mr. Mark Larson. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, my friends, God bless you all.